Hi guys, welcome to Full Time Devils. I'm Adam McCullough and this is MUFC Transfer Daily Live. Yes, I was just getting ready to enjoy my Friday evening and then I see this story coming from the Times and it's Mino Raiola opening his big fat mouth again and talking about Paul Pogba and Paul Pogba's future, and it's looking like it's away from Manchester United. Before this summer started, I thought Pogba's going to leave, but not this summer, probably next summer. I've always thought he'd end up at Real Madrid, but it's looking ever more likely that it could be this summer. And if Pogba wants out and Raiola's going to keep talking, United need to just let him go and let this trouble end. But from a footballing perspective, if this happens, it's not good for Manchester United. Letting go of one of your main men, in fact, letting him go, what does that say for the future of the club if your best players are wanting out? But on a level of dealing with Raiola and dealing with this news every single week, it needs to be put to bed. I'm going to get into your comments very, very soon here on Full Time Devils. Thank you for joining us on this Friday evening. We're going to get your comments as well. But before we do that, let's dive into the story because it's coming from the Times. Now, it's behind a paywall, but from what I can read, it says Paul Pogba is determined to leave Manchester United this summer, and his agent Mino Raiola says he's in the process of arranging the France midfielder a transfer away from the club. Raiola has also cast doubt over whether Pogba will be going on the club's pre-season tour 2 days before United are due to fly out to Australia for the first leg of their 20-day tour. Raiola presented Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with a huge headache when he reiterated Pogba wants to quit the club. Raiola claimed to the Times that the United hierarchy have been informed that he wants out. Real Madrid is understood to be the 26-year-old's preferred destination, although Juventus are interested in his signature too. Now, Juventus and Real Madrid have already spent a huge amount of money, so I'm sure they'd have to recoup some money before they're in a position to be able to buy Paul Pogba. But Raiola continuously talking. Pogba obviously isn't with the team yet. That's because of the simple fact that he played the whole of last season. He played the whole of the World Cup campaign, came back early from pre-season, from holiday last year to play for Manchester United, so he needs an extended break. That's understandable, but what it's causing is now this question mark. Is he going to come back and is he going to be on that plane to Australia with the Manchester United team? We don't need these kind of things going into the summer season. It really is frustrating. Look, everybody knows I'm a huge Paul Pogba fan. I want Paul Pogba to be a Manchester United player this season, but I don't want to be dealing with this. It's real headache, and you just want to be focusing on who United getting in, who we looking at bringing in. Look, I understand why Paul Pogba would want to leave Manchester United. From a purely footballing perspective, I can understand why he would want to leave. There's the police to go and get Raiola, hopefully. I can understand why Paul Pogba would want to leave. United aren't in the Champions League. He's a player that's just won the World Cup, has won countless league titles, and I'm sure he wants to win the Champions League as well. At Manchester United, since he's been here, it's been nothing but headache. He's been inconsistent, yes, but Manchester United's problems aren't him. Manchester United's problems are bigger than him. So I can understand why he wants to leave Manchester United, but you would hope someone that says that he loves the club and he likes the club and all this kind of stuff would give us another season, give Ole another season at least, kind of like what Ronaldo did, and not cause us this headache of having to deal with this. Of course, look, it may all be rumours and it may just be Raiola trying to run his mouth in order to get a bigger deal for Paul Pogba, but there does seem to be something more to this one, and I do think it'll eventually lead to Paul Pogba's departure from Manchester United, whether that's this summer or next summer. I hope it can be next summer and there's some sort of an agreement there, because we need players like Paul Pogba in the team, but we don't need players that don't want to be here. It's as simple as that. And whether this is contract negotiations or whether this is contract negotiations or whether it's actual need for a transfer, then, you know. Tony says Paul Pogba is a negative influence. I disagree with that. Sir Alex Ferguson was almost never wrong when he got rid of players. Sir Alex Ferguson has never actually said anything negative about Paul Pogba. He didn't like his agent, and I think you can read up on that in his book. You can read up on that in terms of how he sent Patrice Evra to speak to him and try and change his mind in terms of staying at Man United. So there's a lot of evidence there to suggest that, you know, that's not the case with Sir Alex Ferguson. Yes, he left under Sir Alex Ferguson, but I think Sir Alex would have rather kept him at the club because of how talented he was. Steven says, why are people going on about a right winger? If Pogba goes, we need Fernandes and another quality centre midfielder. And that's the problem for me. Look, normally if you got a player that doesn't want to be here, you let them go. But the issue for me is we've got a board that, look, we already need to sign 2 central midfielders. Herrera left. Yeah. Herrera left. And then we already needed 1. So now we need to replace Herrera and get 1 in. Let's say that was Longstaff and Fernandes, for example. And then Pogba leaves. We need another central midfielder. But are these guys going to do that? No, that money's just going to disappear. Lukaku's going to maybe, if Lukaku goes, we need another striker. So you can't trust the board members and the board here, Ed Woodward and co, to be able to get the players in to replace the likes of Paul Pogba or Lukaku. Even though, if from a footballing perspective, it may seem more sensible to sell them, that's the worrying thing for us. And you look at some of the players that Real Madrid could potentially give us, and we don't, Gareth Bale, like, that's a massive risk. Why would you want that? Who else is there that they could give us that is going to replace Paul Pogba? I don't think there's anybody, even in terms of influence. Now, Ed Woodward may think, Gareth Bale will replace Paul Pogba in terms of a shirt seller, which he would. But that's not what we need, for fuck's sake. Apocalypse saying he wouldn't want Pogba going just for money. He wants a player or 2 in the deal as well. Cruz and Bale are too old. Dybala would be a better deal, says Paul Lucas. Let him leave, get Sal Niguez, says Ahmed. Harry Singh says can't fault Pogba for asking to leave. And I kind of understand that. We as Manchester United fans, look, we're gutted if a player wants out. Manchester United to us is the holy grail. Everyone should want to play for the club. But we've also got to understand we've got clowns running the club. The club hasn't been as successful as it should be. Now, whilst we want Paul Pogba to be part of the revolution and changing things, football careers are short. Do you know what I mean? And he may be thinking, I need to be successful. How long can I wait for these guys? 3-4 years. He's going to be 30 years old. So I understand it from a footballing perspective, but from a Man United perspective, it's really disappointing. It's really disappointing. Peter says he doesn't want Pogba to leave, while there's plenty of other comments are saying that they, just let him go. Like Sir Jimmy says, Pogba for Varane, says Timmy O'Reilly. Zidane loves Varane, so I doubt he'd want to let Rafael Varane go. Peter says keep him for 1 more season. Pogba has been the best midfielder this season despite playing like he did, says Anani. Get rid of Pogba, no one is bigger than the club, says Samoan. The comments are moving very, very quickly now. Plenty of you guys are here on Full Time Devils. We've got over 1,000 people in the stream at the moment, so thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're hitting that like button, commenting, sharing. Remember, we're looking at the reports around Paul Pogba this evening. After Mino Raiola has spoke with the Times, saying that Pogba wants out. Everyone knows the willingness of Paul to move on. We are in the process of that. Everyone knows what the feelings of Paul are. Everyone within the club, from the manager to the owner, knows Paul's wishes. When asked if international Pogba would travel with the squad for the tour, I cannot tell you anything. I live day by day. So he didn't say he'd not be turning up if he hadn't had the move, but obviously he can't promise that. Right, that's pretty much it from the reports in terms of what they're saying. We need to get Maguire, says Ahmed. Pogba money could be used for Tielemans, Neves and Bruno, says Mark 598. Is it worth to sell Pogba, says Duas. That's one of the things that could prevent a deal from happening as well. If you look at the way Real Madrid have spent money, and you look at Juventus potentially doing the Ligt deal, recently signing Cristiano Ronaldo, they'll be making other moves this window. You'd have to ask, could either of those clubs afford him if United? Because look, Pogba's worth at least 130 million at least. We signed him for 90 million. In this day and age, when you look at the fees of Coutinho, when you look at the fees of potentially Harry Maguire, when you look at the fees of some of the players that are going around him, You have to be getting over 120, 130 million. If you're not, you're getting robbed. That is for sure. United need to be clearing out the dead wood, says Ashley. Yeah, and Paul Pogba is at that. If we're not clearing out the dead wood and we're getting rid of our best players, Jesus, it is gonna be a long, long season. And then someone commented on the recent reports which are saying Ashley Young could be captain as well, which is, oh dear God, that is depressing, isn't it? Look, I love Ashley Young, but he shouldn't be Manchester United captain. Or don't mind him as a squad player, someone in the team, whatever. But starting week in, week out and definitely being our captain is something I do not want to see. Mark is asking for a recap. So just to recap, the Times are reporting an exclusive interview with Mino Raiola where he says everybody at Manchester United knows Paul Pogba's desire is to leave the club and they're in the process of making that happen. By they, he means himself is in the process of making that happen. It remains to be seen whether Juventus or Real Madrid could afford his transfer fee. But those are the two clubs that have been linked with him. So that's what's going on at the moment. Shoot Neutrality says BBC are reporting the same thing. If you read the BBC report, which I just did, they're basically saying according to the Times. So the BBC aren't reporting these quotes as their own. It's all, every report you now see will be based on the Times report. So that's because you see this happen a lot. Like the BBC have a gossip column, so they'll put in a gossip column. Oh, I don't know what the Star, Daily Star say that Manchester United are going to sign Neymar for £500 million, and then the BBC put that in their gossip column, and then some people say the BBC have said this, and like that's not the case. The BBC are just reporting on what is out there in the Times. So guys, thank you very much for watching here on Full Time Devils. Remember, if there's any further news, we'll be live just like I was right now. Will be live yet again, so make sure you're keeping it liking, commenting, sharing and subscribing. But it looks like this one could rumble on through the summer. And remember, we will be in Australia as well for the pre-season tour. Will Paul Pogba? I'm not too sure. See you later.